This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I'd like to welcome to the show today Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry about my lighting.
No, that's okay. You're incognito. You just need some dark glasses like Terry B used to wear.
Yeah.
And I'd like to also welcome Lindsay Mack. I'm all Mac Brayer.
Hello.
Brayer. Good morning, beautiful.
Good morning.
All right. So this last week got a little bit insane, you guys. I hate it when I get taken down a rabbit hole, but I think I got sucked in for about 6 hours last Sunday on some of this stuff. I was trying to do some research on John Mark Karr, and my fingers just led me to wherever my fingers led me to. And I hope I can make those connections as to how my brain operated and the way I ended up finding the things that I found. But we are going to definitely go from John Mark Karr to Segway and back to today and current things, because some stuff was just absolutely awe-shocking. Last week, we were finishing off on an article that was in regards to John Mark Karr. It was written in 2006, of course, after he turned himself in. So this was Saturday, August 19th of 2006. This article was written. I don't see the name of the person, but it was the Spokesman Review from Washington. I'm not sure why they climbed in, other than the fact that JonBenet Ramsey was pretty much an international case. Everybody knew about this little girl. This particular article read, though, and I started this portion, but I just want to refresh. We'll start from the beginning of the article and make our way through. It says case, and now everybody, case is the interesting. She has a case, which is John Mark Karr, but she is the attorney for John Mark Karr. And it says case said that she did not know the depth of the investigator's suspicion in 2001 that her client could have had a role in JonBenet's death. But she said it seems somebody dropped the ball. She said that she was not contacted by law enforcement officials from Boulder and that no one sought to test her client's DNA to determine whether it matched evidence from the Colorado crime. It never went anywhere, she said. So this was supposedly a inside information that she had been given by somebody that John Mark Karr was purportedly a suspect of interest in the JonBenet Ramsey murder as early as 2001, which I know he moved from Alabama to Petaluma, California. I want to say in 2001, because this is where he gets busted ultimately before leaving the country. And I don't know if in hindsight, when she's discussing this in 2006, that she's revealing these type of sentiments in 2006, because he is, worldwide news at this point, and she had previously been his attorney. But she goes on to say, and her name is Marie Case, who represented Karr on 2001 misdemeanor charges, said Friday that members of the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department mentioned to her at the time that there was possibly some involvement in the Ramsey slaying 1,200 miles away in Boulder, Colorado. Just saying, hey, we're looking at this guy. So what is it that, she was told at that time? And like she said, they were interested in him, but never ran his DNA. And needless to say, when we do see him get busted and his DNA is ran, he is not a match, but he has some inside information that makes it plausible for our country to believe he is the suspect. And we fly all the way to Europe and we, gather him up and we extradite him back here to California. And that's pretty much where this article is going to go.
Okay, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Why would the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department be looking at the JonBenet case?
Exact. Well,
why wouldn't they share their information with Boulder?
Right. Well, that's that whole pissing contest. Everybody wants to be the person, right?
Yeah.
Who bagged the man, who got the suspect, who, in either way, if they thought they had him incarcerated at this point in time in 2000
Right.
when she's
I'm
getting.
wondering if they searched his house or what.
Um,
Clues?
I'm assuming that their thought process for having him as a suspect was before he moved to California. I mean, obviously,
okay.
right?
Okay.
So how she gets this this whisper from, law enforcement is beyond me, but again, I don't know if she's just looking for 15 minutes of fame to say I represented him back then and he was a suspect back then, and she's just
Yeah.
piling on,
Right.
the plus factor.
It's odd for law enforcement to reach out to defense attorneys with any information.
Well, and I think
You
she
gotta
says
fight
that
to get information from them.
she said that so members of the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department mentioned to her at that time. So for whatever reason, law enforcement and you're right, why would they be sharing anything like this? He is incarcerated
Yeah.
at this point for child pornography. I would assume that his DNA would have had to have gone into the system, right? 2001, we're doing that, are we?
Okay, but I thought at the time, but I know now, kiddie porn is a felony.
Yeah, it's not a misdemeanor, I think, but this is written after the fact, and of course, they subdue the things they want to subdue, right? They blow up the things they want to blow up. Like, the media is ultimately in control in the thought processes and the narratives that we're going to perceive, I guess. The article goes on to say, on Wednesday, Sonoma court records show a California Superior Court judge granted prosecutors requests to seal the police reports that had led to Karr's arrest on the child pornography charges. That blows my mind.
I'll tell you why.
Well,
he was a patsy.
Well, I know, and that's kind of what I'm leading to in the whole. And I'm not going to say he's a patsy. A patsy is somebody you blame the crime on, unbeknownst to them, right?
I think in this sense, it was a different type of patsy.
Yeah, I think in this sense that he was the distractor. And he was given full reign and opportunity. But the connections that we're going to make here today, just, again, they blow my mind. It says the porn charges were lodged against Karr less than a year after he moved with his family from rural Hamilton, Alabama to Petaluma, a small town in California wine country, in the summer of 2000. Several acquaintances from Alabama interviewed Friday said they never understood why the family left. Starting in early 2001, Karr worked sporadically as a substitute teacher. That April, Sonoma County detectives informed him that he was under suspicion for child pornography based on a confidential tip. Investigators searched 2 homes in Petaluma and seized 2 computer hard drives, a laptop, computer, and other equipment that belonged to Karr. During an hour-long videotaped interview with Detective Martin Frey, Karr denied that he had engaged in child pornography, according to court records. The records indicate that he told Frey he was researching a book about Richard Allen Davis, the man convicted of another notorious child slaying, the 1993 murder of 12-year-old Polly Klaas, who had lived in Petaluma. Karr said he kept Klaas's death certificate in a binder at home, the records show. Karr was charged with 5 counts of child pornography. In an interview Friday, Mark Klaas, Polly's father, said he had never heard of Karr until his arrest this week, but speculated that Karr came to Petaluma to be close to the site of his daughter's death. The guy had an obsession with my daughter, Klaas said. He lived in Alabama with his family, and all of a sudden he moved to a sleepy little farm community in Northern California and ends up living 0.8 of a mile from where she was. This guy seems to be a little dead girl pedophile groupie. Now, the only thing that really boggles me about this is that Klaas was killed in 1983, 1 year before Walsh's son. Why, if you're a groupie, you move when all the happenings are happening, not nearly a decade later. So whether he had an affinity for looking up Klaas or keeping information in regards to her, almost as if he's cataloging some of these deeds, I guess, if you will. That's the way I feel.
He's some type of way linked to their little crew of like it's like the serial killer group, but a different aspect. He was a different player of that group. He
That's
had
what
different.
that's what I think. I think this
Yep.
evidence shows that there's definitely some inclusion with John Mark Karr. Um,
Mhm.
So on Thursday, after learning that Karr may have corresponded with Davis, Class's killer, guards at San Quentin State Prison searched Davis's death row cell but found no evidence, according to Lieutenant Eric Messick, a prison spokesman. On Friday case, Karr's former defense attorney confirmed in an interview that she had been aware her client had an interest in both the Class and Ramsey cases. After Karr's arrest in 2001, the bond was set at $100,000 and he was jailed for 5 months. Karr was released under a program of supervision. He skipped a court appearance before the trial and left town. He just vanished, disappeared, case said. Now, is that normal, Nolan, in these types of cases where they would imprison you for 5 months and then just before your trial let you go?
Depends on his record, I would think, and if he's deemed to be a potential threat to the community. So obviously he bailed out, so there's got to be a bail hearing, and they examine those things. And then my thing is, did he get convicted of a misdemeanor or a felony? Because I think back then it was still, maybe they reduced it. Maybe they pled out and reduced it to a misdemeanor.
No, he never even appeared at trial. He left the country. Okay. So we've got a William Coleman on our hands here, right? You've been busted or you're being looked at for a crime and you just leave the country, which this boggles me. So if his bond was set at $100,000, then that means he would have had to come up with $10,000, right, to get out of jail.
Unless he's represented by a private counsel, then it would be $8,000.
Okay, even then, the man is acting sporadically as a substitute teacher.
Part-time.
Where do you come up with $8,000?
Who knows?
This is like Jack and his lack of jobs and being able to move and buy places in different states and constantly on the go, going here and going there. It's an oddity. I know that right now, if somebody asks me to come up with $8,000 to bail myself out, I have to sell something.
Also, in the bail analysis, especially at that time, it's changed a bit because of recent California Supreme Court cases, but it's still essentially the same. It's two things: threat to the community and flight risk. Well, if the guy's from Alabama, that makes him a flight risk to begin right there. And if he's the wherewithal to post $8,000 bail, that means he's got the wherewithal to get plane tickets.
Well, and that's the other thing. So
that's a flight risk. And he's a potential threat to the community. He's a pedophile.
You're saying all the I'm getting goosebumps. You're saying all the things that I think when I think about this man going to jail for 5 months and then being released 45 days. So he had to come up. Why didn't he come up with this bail money in the first 5 months? Why was it that it occurred at the time that it did? I have so many questions.
That's odd.
Well, it says on Thursday, after learning that Karr may have corresponded with we already did that. Okay. On to the next one. All right. So this connection. So I told you guys I'm going to keep you in the loop of my brain. So this guy has a connection or an interest in the Class case. Now we know that Class created some legislation, right?
Yeah.
And then we know that John Benet Ramsey case John Walsh case a year later not only created some legislation, but also then created the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So something seems to fall in line. And we've also got John Walsh beginning the America's Most Wanted with the FBI, which is what I find so interesting about the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, because once I started to look into that, so Polly Klaas is murdered on October 1st, 1983. It garnered national media attention, made media outlets big money on the stories, which garnered national media attention and created legislation. Adam Walsh in 1984 made media outlets big money on stories that garnered world media attention and created legislation and the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. And John Walsh becomes the host of America's Most Wanted. So when I looked up the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, I came across this from Wikipedia. It says the abbreviated NCMEC is a private nonprofit organization established in 1984 by the United States Congress. So that's the legislation I'm talking about, that government created this on behalf of John Walsh. So in September of 2013, the United States House of Representatives, United States Senate, and the President of the United States reauthorized the allocation of $40 million in funding for the organization as part of Missing Children's Assistance Reauthorization Act of 2013. The current chair of the organization is John Grosso of Kohl's. So Kohl's department stores, think very big.
Wow.
And it used to be JCPenney.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know where Kohl's came from. I've never heard that. That's
what we have here. And I want to say that we still had JCPenney's at the time Kohl's possibly was around. I can't really recollect.
I think that's
mall for a long time.
It was in the mall for a very long time.
And at Arden as well.
Right. So typically JCPenney's you'd find in the mall. Kohl's you usually find in a strip mall, not like a standard mall like the Galleria.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it says
real quick before we get off that.
I'm not getting off of this. We're gonna be here a minute.
Okay,
go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, I know for a fact it's JCPenney because they still have the signs on JCPenney doors. I went to a JCPenney last year and saw it, and I was mind blown. I about fell on the floor when I seen that it had the little Code Adam symbol on the freaking front door of JCPenney. I videoed it. I was like, holy SHIT.
What are you talking about, the code?
So Code Adam is a thing that they put into department stores. It's like a protocol that they put in certain department stores have to adopt to it, and where they have like this certain protocol of what the employees are supposed to do in case of a kidnapping.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's really strange.
Because,
actually,
the JCPenney's have been closing and whatnot, like the Searses and other places like that. Even the Macy's are closing now, but. Did Kohl's acquire part of JCPenney or overtake?
That might be what has happened, and that may be why Wikipedia has updated it to that. Okay. That's my only guess.
You know how sometimes they close here, but they're still open in other states. So things like Albertsons and these different stores that we used to once have here in California, it's almost as if they start up here in California, move themselves across the east, and then slowly but surely are, replaced by other entities here in California, but they still remain open. Like Lindsay said, she saw a JCPenney's last year.
Yeah, and ours is still open, our JCPenney's.
Okay, so see, JCPenney's is not gone. It's just been rebranded, renamed, whatever, and probably to get them out of those contracts in those malls that are going down and under. When the mall starts to fail and nobody's going there anymore and they want to produce a larger, greater, better mall, they start shutting down all those little stores and they reopen under different names, I believe.
Yeah.
So this says the current... Yeah. The current chair of the organization is John Grosso of Kohl's. NCMEC handles cases of missing minors from infancy to young adults through age 20. Primarily funded by the United States Department of Justice, the NCMEC acts as an information clearinghouse and resource for parents, children, law enforcement agencies, schools, and communities to assist in locating missing children and to raise public awareness about ways to prevent child abduction and child sexual abuse. John Walsh, Noreen Gosh, mother of Johnny Gosh, who went missing in 1982, and others advocated establishing the center as a result of frustration stemming from a lack of resources and a national coordination between law enforcement and other government agencies. Whew. Okay. My issue here is that the information that Lindsay Mack has shared with us indicated that John Walsh did not want help from FBI and other agencies, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct. And that's documented.
So why are we getting a $40 million a year contract to create a center to bring the law enforcement together when he did everything to avoid the assistance of law enforcement agencies is question number one. Now, As I get further into it, on April 6, 2018, it was announced in Forbes magazine that the Department of Justice had seized and shut down the website, a frequent nemesis of NCMEC called Backpage.com, on the grounds that it had frequently facilitated human trafficking.
Great.
Now, mind you, with this is that they're very well aware. Now, internet servers are not being held responsible. So there are actual laws in the internet world where the person who's hosting these individuals that are creating these types of websites cannot be held responsible for how their patrons use their sites. I think that's complete BS.
Yeah.
If you are making a type of money that you're making off of servicing individuals, you should also have. Facebook monitors us. LinkedIn monitors us. YouTube monitors us. Why aren't these other people monitored or monitoring the individuals that are using their servers to create or to commit crimes? Also, this kind of reminded me of, is NCMEC getting rid of their competition?
Exactly.
But
Don't
40
put their
million
island on me, you guys.
Well, and it makes sense because they have access to, as you just read, they have access to even the pictures that the yearbook comes to the school and takes the pictures of these children. They have access. They have access to those pictures, all of them, anytime they want. Even when the child is alive. Yes.
And I think this might have been what Harriet was alluding to when she stumbled onto the National Center. I got the sense that she was trying to explain to me there was something nefarious about this agency. And wait till you get to the part that really blew my shorts off. But that might have been what she was trying to allude to in some of her solves. It says NCMEC released a statement. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children just learned that Backpage.com was seized by the FBI, IRS, and the U.S. Postal Inspection Service with analytical assistance from the Joint Regional Intelligence Center. This is another step in the years-long fight against the exploitation of victims who were brought and sold for sex on Backpage.com. Hashtag NCMEC is waiting alongside the rest of the world to see what will come next. We stand by the victims and their families as they process this news and continue to fight for justice against those who profited from their abuse. Hashtag end sex trafficking. In September of 2013, the United States House of Representatives, the United States Senate, and the President of the United States voted to reauthorize the $40 million in funding for the organization as part of Missing Children's Assistance Reauthorization Act of 2013. In 1984, the U.S. Congress passed the Missing Children's Assistance Act, which established a National Resource Center and clearinghouse on missing and exploited children. On June 13, 1984, the center, formed by Adam Walsh's parents, Reve and John Walsh, alongside other children's advocates, was officially opened by President Ronald Reagan in a White House ceremony. The national 24-hour toll-free missing children's hotline, 1-800-THE-LOST, was also established. Wait a minute. Where did I?
And when George Bush came into the effect, he passed the law for the National Sex Offender Registry.
Say that again?
So at first, the National Sex Offender Registry actually was only in a couple of states, and he made a deal where every state had to adapt to it, so that way it could be in every state where they could track any sex offender that has created any type of crime to a minor. So that's another system, another database that they created, so they could just pick these people out anytime they want to pin something on
them. Now, so when did Bush do that? Do you know?
Well, it
was one of the last years. It was one of the very last years that he was in office.
That was Papa Bush, not W, right? Because Papa followed Reagan.
Yeah, Bush Jr. Yeah.
So when was Bush Jr. president?
It was before Obama, so.
Right, so
911, yeah, in the 90s.
Oh,
Oh,
so
I'm
during
looking it up on my computer now.
yeah,
Yeah.
2001 would have
The
been
dad
Bush.
was president. George Sr. was president from 88 to 92, I believe.
Okay, so this is well after the fact, and this would have been Junior's act then
Oh
to
yeah,
make
it was. It was definitely him. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
well, Reagan did the other one, so I'm thinking he was the next president after Reagan, but who knows?
But it's Bush Jr. that we see hanging out with Epstein, right?
Oh, 2000. Actually, guess what? It was actually done on Adam Walsh's birthday, July 27th of 2006.
Okay, yeah, that's
Because he
W.
ran twice. He ran 2 years, right?
That's W.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
2 terms.
yes, yeah.
Oh yeah. I
Okay,
hate
and so,
him too.
but
Oh my
again,
God.
back to it's just Bush Jr. we see with Epstein, right? Not
Yep.
Granddaddy Bush. Okay. So we're making those connections here. Now, here's the controversy, and this is what threw me for a loop. It says in August of 2024, former NCMEC board member Don McGowan criticized the organization's board in a Tech Dirt podcast appearance, stating, I mean, NCMEC has data in its stat banks that say some of the kids most at risk in the world are trans kids, and they ignore that data. Goes on to say in February of 2025. So here just recently, this is why it's part of what I'm doing, because this stuff is still ongoing. In February 2025, under the threat of losing funding from the federal government under the Trump administration, the NCMEC scrubbed all resources relating to or mentioning LGBT youth, as well as removing resources for male victims of child trafficking. What the F? So
I haven't seen that. Holy
So basically,
shit.
they were afraid if they kept it that type of their operation alive, that Trump would cut their funding.
if they were,
and did you see the picture of like last month of John Walsh standing next to Trump at his freaking desk in the White House?
no,
I did not.
no,
Yeah,
I did
and
not
I
see
was
that.
wondering what that was about. And it seems like he's undercover outing him but making it look like everything's okay.
Well, I'm just more or less floored. What do they think, that male victims don't have the same right as female victims? And if our tax-paying dollars are going to this type of an organization that's supposed to protect children, it should protect both girls and boys.
Yes,
Correct.
also.
Whether they're transgendered or not. But they're absolutely right. Transgendered are the ones most at risk because they're usually displaced from home early. They're on the streets. They are unable to, be safe in their own skin and who they are around their families. So they end up running homeless most of the time. And then these are the kids that they're picking up.
But here's the thing. It's crazy how they claim that like, they labeled them as trans, but the ones that they are interested in the most are the little boys.
I know. And so why does this get scrubbed from the National Center of Missing Children? Why? And it says LGBT as well, not just transgendered kids, but these are the ones that are looking for acceptance, and they're probably easy to groom. Probably easy to, pay money to get them on board with whatever the tactics that there are. I'm just blown away that they were able to scrub all the resources.
And then if you notice, the ones that are trans or whatever, or they're confused, or they're in that state where they don't know which way to go, those are the ones, like you just said, they pick out. And another reason I think they pick them out, and that this was probably scrubbed, is because they also use those individuals to blame other things, such as gun violence. They blame it on them all the time.
And those individuals are certainly taking some type of, antidepressants and yeah.
Sick.
So
they do.
I thought I would look up who's in charge of this joint, and it was this John Grosso. So I ran a check on him to kind of see what's going on. And of course, when I ran a check on him, I ended up with some extremely interesting links, being Pittsburgh crime family. I don't know why. Again, I did not have time to read through most of these, but when I type in John Grosso, why is the Pittsburgh crime family coming up? And then I saw something from Reddit that said, bye, Mr. Grosso. So I went into that link because clearly that contained his name, but it said, yep, my ASM just confirmed it. He even questioned what the hell is going on. Are they jumping ship or what? I know the investors have been very unhappy with the way things are going, but yeah, Michelle Gass and John Grosso are out. So when I went into the Reddit, when I went into the Reddit.
When I just looked him up, this is what it read. July 8, 2025. NCR digital editor John Grosso shares his favorite meatless meal for Lent because it's like it's like from the national. This is from the National Catholic Reporter, whatever. He said for Lent, one of the 4 horsemen of Roman pasta. 3 ingredients is blah 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 blah. You know what pasta is, right?
Yeah. We're going to get to that in about 2 seconds. I love you're always one step ahead of me, but it's because we're researching the same stuff without even, checking in with each other on what we're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. So on the Reddit article, it said, bye, Mr. Grosso. Now that Grosso has left the company, who will be next? How many additional upper level cuts will be made? What other changes will we see as the fiscal new year begins? I went down a little bit. Of course, it was back and forth, just talking about, the astonishment of Grosso being out because evidently he has been running Kohl's department store for who knows how long. But I came across this one from Luna Soulshine that says, I think it had more to do with the fact that he got called out for selling these men's pajamas when he is a chair on the board of the directors for the NCMEC. And it says, if you know, you know. So I looked at this particular, we can see these shorts right here, guys. And I could see this emblem, this triangle. I'm getting goosebumps too.
Me too.
I automatically said, I feel like I just recently saw this label and what is this about? So if you know, I got to find out, right? Inquiring minds need to know. So I went into a post that I made approximately 2 weeks ago from one of my former clients and friends now. We are friends on Facebook, and she will post every now and again things in regards to, the stuff anybody would want to hate. Let's share this with everybody. So she sends me this thing that is called Codes Pedophiles Use to Communicate. And the first symbol is the symbol found on these men's shorts. And it's called the boy.
Wow.
I have that chart.
Yeah. So this symbol is for pedophiles. They use it for the boy lover. This logo featuring a blue spiral shaped triangle surrounded by a larger triangle is used by pedophiles who like young boys. The small triangle represents a small boy while the bigger one represents an adult man, according to the FBI document. Now, the next symbol is kind of similar, but it's rounded instead of angular like the triangle, but it has the same inner circle movements, and it's called the little boy lover. This is a variation of the boy lover logo used by pedophiles who like very young boys. It is also features a spiral-shaped triangle, but its corners are not straight. This is deliberate and is meant to resemble the scribbling of a young child, FBI agents say. Then they use the heart, which this is disgusting because I feel like the heart is just like, is one of the things you want for caring, not for abusing. And it's basically the same type of movement in the heart that you see in the triangle, only the inner heart obviously is going to be expressed as a little girl. So it's called the girl lover logo. This logo featuring a small heart surrounded by a larger heart signifies that a pedophile is sexually attracted to young girls. The 2 hearts symbolizes a relationship between an adult male or female and a minor girl, according to the U.S. agency. Then it gets down into what looks like a butterfly, and all the wings are made out of hearts. This logo is used by pedophiles who do not have a gender preference. These people are sexually attracted to young boys and girls. Then there's the Child Love Online Media Activism logo, CLOMAL. And I guess that's the acronym, CLOM as in Mary, AL. This symbol is used on social media by pedophiles. It tells other predators that they are interested in children. The FBI bulletin describes how pedophiles are using logos like this one to promote their cause. Now it goes into a little bit more here. It says XXX is the terminology used to refer to sites with child pornography. PAC, set of child pornography photos, usually in downloadable format. DW is short for deep web or dark web. IRC, text messaging system. CP/TS/LS are the acronyms that identify that the message refers to child pornography. Then they go on to show what the equivalent of these children and things mean. So if it's a walnut, that's referring to children of color. If it's a hot dog, that equals a boy. If it's a pizza, that equals a girl. If it's cheese, that's a little girl. If it's chicken or pasta, there you go. There's your pastas. It refers to a little boy. Ice cream refers to male prostitution. Sauce equals an orgy. And a map equals semen, or is the context of DNA evidence. So I shared this so other people, if they come across these particular insignias on any type of a website, report it. There are reporting agencies that you could send these people to. Sometimes we as the public have to be the ones doing the work, even though the rich guys are the ones making the money off of hosting these individuals. So
and
either
then,
way,
you remember Joe Biden and the ice cream?
No.
I do remember something about the ice cream, but I'm not sure. Go ahead, tell us.
Well, everybody was making these memes about him going to eat ice cream, because like they videoed him. It was there's like a video of him going to eat ice cream somewhere, just like they would video him on the beach walking around. Like that's whenever they were just videoing him randomly. It was one of those of him eating ice cream, and then the people that do know what that means made memes of him eating the ice cream, and they were like everywhere, like all over Twitter. And what's funny is, like, here in the South, we just like to expose people, and like we don't really care.
You mean out?
Yes. So I was driving down the road one day. It was not long after this was going on, and there was a billboard, a big billboard that had Joe Biden looking wide-eyed with his mouth open, holding ice cream on it. And I was like, oh my God, dude.
Has Biden been found to be connected to Epstein? Because, he had the files and he had the list, and he didn't release them during his entire presidency.
I haven't heard anything. But you're right about them, that he was in charge way back when.
Well, if you've read his daughter's diary, then that's how he's connected. He prostituted his own daughter out to people when she was little. Yeah.
What?
But what? So
you don't know about what's her name's diary?
No.
It's out there it's on the web. Yeah.
Is Jill the mom? Is the Dr. Biden Jill? Is she the mom?
I don't know if that's her mom or if it's that other lady that he was married to before. The one that died in a mysterious car crash.
I bet it's the other lady. I don't think it's Jill.
Yeah.
I wonder what she thinks about these allegations.
Ew and yuck. Like, yeah. How do you
stay with Joe?
Well, that's why y'all haven't heard about it, because they hide it.
Trying to out him.
Hey, if they can scrub LGBT and transgender from the NCMEC, then they can scrub anything else they want to scrub, you guys. I haven't gone on to the website.
That's why I keep everything. I as soon as I see it, I got it. It's mine, and you can't get it back. So
I spend a lot of time collecting URLs back in 2009 when I started my research, only to find out that many of those URLs are broken today. I should have captured images of what I saw, but I also didn't like to hop onto a lot of these sites, because I did recognize that they are computer crashers. You're going to get a virus, and there's a reason why that stuff is out there and posed with a virus, so that if you're doing this type of research, you will get that virus by entering that URL, and then your computer will eventually crash with all the hard research that you've done. So
yeah, you got to avoid those sites.
Yeah, and I found a couple of them.
Well, back then we didn't have any way to screenshot back then. We'd have to just take a picture of the screen. So
yeah, and we're gonna see some broken links here in a minute. So as I continued my research on John Grosso, I also came up with, in fact, Jeffrey Epstein. So I got a list of about 6 or 7 URLs. One of them was Reddit. And then you had to click on more if you wanted to see more. So if you came to the bottom, you would think that that was all you had on John Grosso, but I clicked more. And the second I clicked more, the very first thing that came up was Jeffrey Epstein on Wikipedia. And I thought, what the Shrek? Now, this could be a connection because the NCMEC is supposed to be out there, taking care of, and who knows, what information they may have on Jeffrey Epstein or why this became a connection. It also came up with a couple Johns, but I anticipated that to happen simply because I typed in the word John. Google is going to pick up John and throw out some random Johns, but John A. Gotti was one of them. The John Brower Minogue from Wikipedia, which that one is all in a completely different language. I had a John Elite, John Sumrall, and a John A. Gotti that came up. But I was most interested in Jeffrey Epstein as it applied to the fact that it was
John
the very first.
Sumrall.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
He was the head football coach at the Tulane University, which I'm not sure where that is. Let's see.
Tulane? That's in New Orleans.
Okay. So he served as head coach at He served as head coach at Troy University from 2022 to 2023 and will become the head coach at the University of Florida in 2026. So,
really?
Oh, that's why he's familiar, because that's like new info. I don't know why he would have pulled up. That's kind of weird. But
well, because it's John. If you look up here, this is what I put in, John Grosso. So
that's
it
why
developed.
You got to use Yandex.com is another server of searching, and DuckDuckGo. They if you want to find,
I use DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, then that's how you can see what the
so
difference is. Yeah.
You said Yandex?
Yeah, it's Yandex.com.
Okay. .com. Yeah, so
it
this
actually
was
pulls stuff from other countries more than any other one. So like,
yeah, and I did get some links from that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that the reason why is that my keywords are John and Wikipedia, that I got these Johns in Wikipedia. Yep. So moving on to others. So basically that made me fall right back into, of course, Jeffrey Epstein, because he was the first link, and Jeffrey Epstein does not match my criteria whatsoever. So why? Yeah. This takes me back to when I looked up Zodiac or any other in the FBI FOIA files and came up with Bebe Rebozo connected to was that Saudi Arabia and individuals who were into human trafficking and things that they were being looked at. I was very interested in Rebozo because what did he have to do with the Zodiac case, and why did this crisscross itself? There had to be some amount of information that crossed over that caused this to pull when I researched the Zodiac. So I just want to share some things I did not know about. Jeffrey Edward Epstein was born on January 20th, 1953 in Brooklyn, a borough of New York City. His parents, Pauline Paula Stolowski and Seymour George Epstein, were Jewish and had married in 1952 shortly before his birth. Pauline worked as a school aide and as a homemaker. Seymour worked for the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation as a groundskeeper and gardener. In the mid-1980s, Epstein traveled multiple times between the United States, Europe, and the Middle East. While in London, Epstein met Stephen Hoffenberg. They had been introduced through Douglas Lease, a defense contractor, and John Mitchell, the former U.S. Attorney General. An anonymous source met with Epstein and Lease as early as 1981. Epstein also stated to some people that at that time he was an intelligence agent. Epstein associated Hoffenberg.
1981.
Right. All before Polly Klaas, John Walsh, Adam Walsh, should I say.
Yeah.
Epstein also stated to some people, Epstein associate Hoffenberg in 2020 alleged that Epstein was recruited in 1980s by Lease to work for British intelligence, and that Hoffenberg introduced Epstein to Robert Maxwell.
John Mitchell, the U.S. Attorney General, he was Attorney General under Nixon. And he was the one in charge of
my God.
The committee to re-elect the president, and they called it CREEP. So that's just creep. That's a weird word association. Then you got him introducing Epstein to people and whatnot.
To a creep.
Nolan, do you just know that did you know that John Walsh hated Nixon?
I did not know that. Most people did.
There you go. Now we know why.
A lot of people hated Nixon.
Well, he made this claim in the case file in speaking to investigators though. So why would you say that? Like, well, who cares if you hate him? Why are you telling people this in the why are you saying this to people in the interview, like about your child? Like what?
Yeah, at one point I think Mitchell went to jail during the Watergate scandal, prison, I think. But he went to Club Fed, got out quickly.
Oh, of course, probably on work release and
that's why we have that news article, Watergate, about you remember we read that? You read that?
Oh yeah.
Ways back.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly speaking, we know that the group in entirety was all up and involved in that. So let me get back here. An anonymous source met with Epstein and Lease as early as 1981. Epstein also stated to some people, during the 1980s, Epstein possessed an Austrian passport that had his photo, but with a false name. So this is what I suspect Jack was into and why he had so many different names. The passport showed his place of residence as Saudi Arabia. Very interesting. In 2017, a former senior White House official reported that Alexander Acosta, the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida, who had handled Epstein's criminal case at the end of the George W. Bush administration, had stated to interviewers of President Donald Trump's first transition team, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone, and that Epstein was above his pay grade." That's an interesting statement.
Yeah.
He said it. He did.
That's just another reason for me to suspect that it was not suicide that killed him.
100%.
Intelligence connections. They're going to want him dead.
Yep. Yeah. He knows too much. During this period, one of Epstein's clients was the Saudi Arabian businessman Adnan Khashoggi, and Khashoggi came up before all the time. Who was the middleman in transferring American weapons from Israel to Iran as part of the Iran-Contra affair in the 1980s. Khashoggi had been introduced to him by Lease, and Khashoggi was one of several defense contractors that he knew.
Yeah, he was involved with Richard Secord and Ollie North and all those guys.
Well, the booze balls.
And then Trump buys his boat from him.
Right.
And it's like, it makes you wonder, like, did Trump know back then what was going on and tried to buy that boat so he could get evidence on him?
Well, or if
to out him later on.
It was Robert Maxwell's boat.
But he bought Khashoggi's boat. He tried to buy Maxwell's too, right? Or
I thought that was somebody's wife, one of the people affiliated with Epstein, whose ex-wife had purchased the Lady Ghislaine. Robert Maxwell's boat.
Right.
That's a different boat.
Okay.
Right. So it's a different boat, but it's all within and the thing is that a lot of people would claim that Epstein might possibly, because he had cameras all over his joints, that he was attempting to get blackmail information on people, kind of like, the cabal. We're going to keep the most sensitive information so that we can control you in whatever manner we need to. But at one point, if you become a liability, then you have to be taken care of. And maybe everybody was buying up all these different things of his, thinking that somewhere this information would have been stored or kept. And if they did find it, it's gone. We're never going to see it, or they're going to hold it for their own control over these high-powered people.
The CIA, the mafia, and the FBI do the same thing.
Right. Yep. So Towers Financial Corporation was actually one of Epstein's businesses. Stephen Hoffenberg hired Epstein in 1987 as a consultant for Towers Financial Corporation, unaffiliated with the company of the same name, founded in 1998 and acquired by Old National Bank Corp., a collection agency that bought debts people owed to hospitals, banks, and phone companies. Hoffenberg set Epstein up in offices. Let's see, I just lost my...
Set him up in offices.
Yeah, in offices in Villard houses in Manhattan, and paid him up to $25,000 per month for his consulting work. Hoffenberg and Epstein then refashioned themselves as corporate raiders, using Tower Financial as their raiding vessel. One of Epstein's first assignments for Hoffenberg was to implement what turned out to be an unsuccessful bid to take over Pan American World Airways in 1987. A similar unsuccessful bid in 1988 was made to take over Emory Air Freight Corp. During this period, Hoffenberg and Epstein worked closely together and traveled everywhere in Hoffenberg's private jet. Now, those in the mafia, those in the mob, those in the syndicates, they need a way to transport their goods, whether it be humans or drugs or guns. So here they are trying to do hostile takeovers of airlines, which I'm assuming that at some point they either did or just continued to use private jets.
Or CIA front companies.
Yeah, and it's going to get even more disgusting by the time we get into the Lolita Express, because we're going to find out next week, you guys, that Epstein was part of the 2008 crash that cost millions of Americans their 401ks, their stocks, their retirements, and millions of Americans their homes in that little debacle that they used to blow up the market and then tear it down. And it, I think, was all to reap the rewards of not only the debt consolidation. We see that he has this debt consolidation business here, but one of my theories was that they would foreclose on these individuals' houses, they'd sell the debt to another company, they'd get the insurance, and then they'd throw it on the steps of the courthouse in order for it to be sold at auction for a very low cost. They were winning 3 times over. But we are at the end. I've actually ran over at this point. You guys will climb into that next week. I want to thank you both for being here. Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.
See you soon. Bye.
Oh,